Okay, I'm going for 2 for 2 on this episode on road rage. Totally different topic. Part of what's fueling what's going on is I had the privilege and the opportunity to drink from the waters of wisdom from the wisdom teachers. And this nugget is actually something I've touched on in this road rage series. Not road rage, road rage. And I haven't figured out what I'm going to call today's topic. I think I'm going to call it How to Be a Terrorist. We'll see. So what was the topic? In the previous episode, because this discourse is falling along the lines of, and I spoke about this a little bit in a previous discourse, on how do you go to war and how do you battle, but not an external enemy, the enemy within. Anytime there's conflict, knowing what we need to do versus what we are doing and rising to the occasion of doing what we need to do, doing what matters, that's the battle. That's the conflict. And so that it gets into, rather than raging war, can we raise it to a level where we don't have to wage war? We can actually bring the enemy within and turn the enemy over to be our best friend, our best ally. Start working for ourselves instead of working against ourselves. What am I talking about? So essentially, the answer is yes, we can raise it to a different level. So I want to capture this nugget this morning and talk about, and why is that related to terrorism? What's going on? So the nugget was essentially saying like this. When we look at the world, and I'm going to bring this down real practical, we're not going to get mystical and abstract. We're going to bring it down to, because I'm about to go into a day of business with, dealing with myself, which is its own handful. Dealing with my business partners, dealing with my clients, my customers, and all of that. So we got to bring it down to a level that's real. So there's two ways to get into it. When I look at the world, when we look at the world, it's a very, very fragmented world. There's a lot going on. People, different faces, different personalities, different temperaments. You got, if you get two Jews together, you get three opinions. Now see, I can call that card because I'm Jewish, right? And so it's a very fragmented world we live in. So how do we bring it together? And not only is it a fragmented world, but try and get stuff done. Try and get stuff done that matters. And many times, it's easy to find a lot of opposition. Whether it's you coming to a business meeting and everyone's got their own, not only overt agenda, but their hidden agenda, whatever that may be, or in relationships, trying to work things out in a way that everyone's happy and on board, and creating a vibrant life and a rich relationship together. Whatever the situation may be, bottom line is there's a lot of fragmentation. So how do we raise it up so that we can eliminate the opposition? Do we need to go to battle? Is that what we need to do? Do I need to come in, focus with my game mask on and just what? So yeah, we can do that, but there's a much, much, much more effective way to do that. And that's elevate it, it's raise it to a higher level. So what am I talking about? Is it dependent on someone else? Or is it dependent on me? And the answer in this discourse is, it really, really isn't dependent on what's external. It's really dependent on the dynamics that are happening internally. And when we unlock that, when we unlock it and unleash it, then stuff starts to happen. What was perceived opposition now actually becomes allies. So let's get into it a little bit. Work with me here. Let's take an example before we get into the business. Let me take some from a different background. In martial arts, right? Guy's walking down the street. Let's say he's relatively proficient in martial arts, and all of a sudden he's attacked. He didn't start the fight. He's not one of these, I'll be nice, one of these people, I was going to use a different term, but I'm being nice. One of these people that has a chip on his shoulder and has got to prove how big and bad he is, right? And so he didn't start the fight came to him. So obviously the solution would be, if this person would just stop attacking, then there wouldn't be any fight to begin with. Now let's extend that model a little bit and say, isn't that a lot of life? Don't we treat a lot of life like, gee, if my boss would be like that, if my significant other would be like that, if my coworker would be like this, if my customer would be like, whatever. If everybody else would just get along with me and stop fighting with me, like, the world would be great, right? So let's go back to the martial arts model. So what's the martial artist supposed to do? So the martial artist can actually take control of the situation. And I don't mean by blowing the person away. By the way, now I'm parked, so I can totally stare at the screen now and get even more focused. And so the martial artist doesn't have to necessarily battle, but by changing the vectors and how he's positioning, or how she's positioned herself, how she moves, will force the attacker in a different direction. So maybe the attacker started the fight, but where the attack goes and how it concludes, it's totally up to the martial artist to guide it and lead it direction and resolve it. So in other words, instead of the assailant stopping the attack, it's totally up to the martial artist to change their perspective, to change their body movement, and resolve the conflict. So now let's go back into what we're saying. If I get aligned within myself, if we get aligned within ourselves, and we get to that elevated place, that mindfulness, and we unlock and we unleash that, and we come in with the right frame of mind, the right attitude, then we'll find that despite what was initially opposition, people will get aligned with us. When you come in and you have a discussion and you've got the other person's best interests at heart, and you check your ego at the door, people will respond to that. Key words. When we check our egos at the door and we look to do what's right, people will respond appropriately in a positive way. Now, the reason I was thinking about calling this particular road race "How to Be a Terrorist," God forbid, is the idea like this: what can we learn from terrorism? A person takes themselves, blows themselves up, causes unimaginable pain, havoc, terror, destruction. One person, huge impact. But we can take that lesson and apply it to ourselves. When we get aligned within ourselves, when we elevate and lock into that right frame of mind, and we're determined to supernova, to overwhelm the world with goodness, to overwhelm the environment with positive vibes and the right attitude, check the ego at the door and do what's right, do what matters, though that wave of positivity impacts everyone around us in our immediate vicinity and beyond. So just like in the negative, in the opposite realm, because that's how the dynamics of creation work, whatever you have in good is in the opposite, and whatever's in the opposite of not good, we can find in the good and learn from. So let's learn how to be terrorists, but in the positive. Let's learn how to get locked in that right frame of mind, to raise ourselves up, get elevated, capture that, take that, and wash it over in our day, in all of our relationships. We get aligned and get centered and get right within ourselves. We bring that, we'll find the oppositions that was formerly opposition wants to align and work with us. So with that, hope you have an amazing day. This might have been a couple of minutes longer than usual. Maybe we'll take this nugget. It's a really, really rich nugget. We'll kind of crack it apart and break it into some smaller chunks. But reach out to me on social, Facebook, Twitter, TotaLiving BSD, and let's continue the conversation. There's other episodes to come. There's things I've been kind of teasing and promising. I'm working through it, trying to get it done as soon as possible. But please give me some feedback and let me know some topics or what you'd like to talk about, concepts of road raise, or your experiences in raising it to the next level and elevating everything around you. Can't wait to talk to you.